All right, so, you've got tiny unwelcome guests, it seems,
Oh, yeah.
buzzing around your kitchen, middle of winter in Milton, Ontario.
Yeah.
That's not the usual time for fruit flies.
Not at all.
We're going to take a deep dive into a Reddit thread that you shared from the Milton subreddit, where a user named Duri Shewar is asking for help with this unusual situation.
Yeah. Fruit flies, you see, are cold-blooded.
Right.
So that means that their metabolism slows way down in the winter.
Oh, okay.
And that's why you typically only see them when the weather's warmer.
Makes sense.
So the fact that they're showing up in Milton, Ontario in the winter is pretty peculiar.
Yeah, that's not good.
No.
And adding to the mystery, Duri Shewar says their house is clean, trash is taken out regularly.
Right.
They even tried one of those liquid fruit fly traps. Caught a good number of them.
Wow.
But more just keep appearing.
The classic signs of a persistent pest problem.
Oh, no.
And that's where things start to get really interesting. Another user, Nick Danevsky, jumps into the conversation, saying they haven't seen a single fruit fly, even though they eat a ton of fruit regularly.
Really? So it makes you wonder if there's something about their house or maybe their habits that's naturally repelling fruit flies.
Yeah.
I mean, not seeing a single one with all that fruit around, that's impressive.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
But getting back to Duri Shewar's dilemma.
Okay.
What kind of advice were people offering?
Well, the initial suggestions from the Reddit community were what you might expect.
Okay.
Cleaning the kitchen sink drain with baking soda and vinegar, since drains can be a breeding ground for all sorts of things.
Yeah, of course.
And of course, double-checking for any hidden rotting food.
Yeah.
But Duri Shewar seems pretty confident that's not the issue.
That's when the plot thickens, right? Because some folks started to suggest that these little guys might not be fruit flies at all, but fungus gnats.
Exactly, and this is where having multiple perspectives can be so valuable. One of the clues that pointed to fungus gnats was that Duri Shewar's mom had recently brought some plants indoors.
So those plants might have brought in some unexpected guests.
Possibly, yeah.
I never thought about that being a potential issue, especially during the winter.
It's definitely something to keep in mind.
Okay.
You see, fungus gnats lay their eggs in soil, and the larvae feed on organic matter.
Right.
The adults are the ones flying around.
Okay.
Which could explain why they're being spotted in different rooms, not just the kitchen.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So how do you get rid of these fungus gnats? Is it the same as dealing with fruit flies?
Not necessarily. That's why correctly identifying the pest is so crucial.
Right.
You could end up using the wrong methods and just spinning your wheels.
Sure.
In this case, many users recommended using yellow sticky traps.
The kind you can find just about anywhere, right?
Exactly.
Amazon, Walmart, Home Depot.
Yeah, they're pretty easy to come by.
Okay, great.
But here's where it gets even more intriguing. Another user, Tiny Highway 2038, chimed in saying that finding fruit flies in the winter is highly unusual.
So now we've got a double mystery on our hands.
Yeah.
Are they fruit flies or fungus gnats? And if they are fruit flies, what are they doing in Milton in the middle of winter?
It's a fascinating puzzle.
It really is.
And it really highlights how even a seemingly simple problem can have layers of complexity.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that, we shouldn't jump to conclusions.
Right.
We really need to pay attention to the details.
For sure.
Consider all the possibilities.
Like becoming a detective.
Yeah.
But for tiny household invaders,
exactly.
Carefully observe their behavior.
Right.
Not just assume we know what we're dealing with.
Exactly. And in this case, even if those tiny flies turn out to be fruit flies, the question remains, why are they so active in the middle of winter?
I've always just accepted that fruit flies disappear in the winter.
Right.
Almost like they hibernate or something. I never really stopped to think about why. Well, we already talked about their metabolism slowing down in the cold.
Yeah.
But there's another factor that might be at play here.
Okay.
The microclimate within a house.
The microclimate. I've never considered that before.
Each house has its own unique microclimate factors like insulation, building materials, even the amount of sunlight a room receives can create slightly different temperature and humidity levels.
Ooh.
So it's possible that certain areas of Duri Shewar's house are providing just the right conditions for fruit flies to thrive even in the winter.
So it's like their house has these tiny little pockets of summer hidden away.
Exactly.
Which is perfect for fruit flies to hang out.
Exactly. And that's why sometimes even if you're doing all the right things, keeping your kitchen clean, taking out the trash, you might still have a pest problem if the underlying environmental conditions are favorable for them.
So what you're saying is it might not be enough to just eliminate the immediate food sources.
Right.
We need to think about the bigger picture.
Exactly.
The overall environment we're creating in our homes.
Precisely. And that can involve things like adjusting the thermostat, using a dehumidifier, or even just being mindful of which rooms get the most sunlight and warmth.
This whole microclimate thing has really opened my eyes.
Yeah.
I'm going to start paying much closer attention to those subtle differences in temperature and humidity around my house.
Right.
You never know what you might discover.
And that's the beauty of it, isn't it? There's always something new to learn.
It's true.
Even about the seemingly mundane aspects of our lives.
Right.
Who knew that dealing with a fruit fly problem could lead us to a discussion about microclimates?
You know, one thing that stood out to me in this Reddit thread is how helpful and supportive the community was.
Absolutely.
Everyone was offering advice, trying to help Dury Shawar solve their problem.
It's a great example of the collective wisdom that can be found online.
For sure.
People sharing their experiences, offering different perspectives, and helping each other troubleshoot.
Yeah.
It's really inspiring.
It makes you realize that you don't have to face these kinds of challenges alone.
Right.
There's a whole community out there ready and willing to offer support and guidance.
And often the solutions that come from these kinds of collaborations can be much more creative and effective than anything you might come up with on your own.
So for you listening, if you're ever battling a stubborn household problem, don't be afraid to reach out to your community.
Yeah.
Whether it's online or in person, you might be surprised by the ingenuity and helpfulness you encounter.
And remember, even if you don't find a perfect solution right away, the process of sharing your experience and brainstorming with others can be incredibly valuable.
Oh, for sure.
It can help you see the problem from different angles, come up with new ideas, and feel less alone in your struggles.
I love that. It's like turning a frustrating situation into an opportunity for learning and connection.
Exactly. And sometimes that shift in perspective can be just as important as finding a practical solution.
Yeah, it really makes you think about all the factors that could be contributing to a pest problem.
Right.
Especially one that seems out of place.
Yeah.
Like, what if Dury Shawar tries all the suggestions from the Reddit thread, but those little flies keep coming back?
Right.
Could there be other things at play?
Yeah.
Maybe something less obvious?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
It pushes us to think beyond the typical solutions.
Right.
We've talked about the microclimate of the house.
Yeah.
But what about the possibility of a hidden moisture source somewhere?
Oh.
Even a tiny crack in the foundation could create the perfect breeding ground for certain insects.
Wow, I hadn't even thought about that.
Yeah.
So it's like a whole other layer of detective work, trying to track down these hidden sources of moisture that might be fueling the problem.
It's all about being curious and observant. Sometimes the answer isn't immediately apparent.
Right.
And it requires a bit of digging to uncover the root cause.
So for you listening, if you're dealing with a persistent pest problem, don't give up hope.
Right.
Even if the usual solutions don't seem to be working, there might be other factors at play that you haven't considered yet.
It might be helpful to think of your house as an ecosystem.
Okay.
There are so many interconnected elements that can influence the presence of pests.
Right.
Temperature, humidity, light. Even the types of materials used in your home's construction can all create conditions that are either favorable or unfavorable to certain insects.
That's a really helpful way to think about it.
Yeah.
It makes me realize that there's always more to learn.
Right.
Even about something as seemingly simple as dealing with household pests.
Absolutely. And that's what makes these deep dives so rewarding.
Yeah, for sure.
They encourage us to explore new ideas, challenge our assumptions, and appreciate the complexity of the world around us.
Well said. And, what would a deep dive be without giving our amazing listeners a chance to share their own experiences?
Absolutely.
Have you ever encountered a pest problem?
Yeah.
Especially one that seemed out of season or just wouldn't go away?
Right.
What did you do?
Yeah, what did you do?
Did you discover any unexpected solutions?
We'd love to hear your stories, your theories, your hard-won wisdom.
For sure.
After all, the best solutions often come from shared experiences
Right.
and collective problem solving.
So head over to our website.
Yeah.
Drop us a comment on social media or send us an email.
Let us know.
Let's keep this conversation going.
Absolutely.
Until next time, happy sleuthing.